Sliver Overlord versus the Scarab God. I'm going to keep this one and hope that our opponent doesn't get off to as fast a start as we're hoping to get off to. Sol Ring doesn't help us with Wooburg, but it does help us by getting Signets and other mana rocks into play, hence the reason it's in here. Sliver Overlord is a Wooburg commander, 3 generic mana to tutor for a Sliver, and 3 generic mana to gain control of a target Sliver. And the Scarab God is a Dimir 5 mana 5/5 commander. At the beginning of your upkeep, we lose X life and they scry X, where X is the zombies they control. And then 4 mana, exile a creature from a graveyard, gain a copy of it that is a 4/4 black zombie, and then when it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Tropical Island into Sol Ring is okay, I think. Probably going to get down Prismatic Omen next turn, especially seeing as how we don't have black mana yet. Prismatic Omen will help us with that. I'm just noticing now that this individual is a fan of the channel. Yeah, just exchanging some kind words with our opponent there. They've noted that they are a friend of the channel, so hopefully this game goes well for them. 7 cards in hand. Alright, our opponent has gotten into that second land and getting to more mana in Dimir Signet. So let's grab ourselves. Yeah, I think we have to go for Prismatic Omen here. Try and fix our mana. Not too worried about our opponent removing enchantments or artifacts because they're in Dimir. What I am worried about is them reanimating big creatures with that thing. Grab ourselves a mountain and throw it back over to our opponent. Yeah, I've been playing with the Scarab God myself tonight and don't know if that last ability has been fixed. Apparently it's supposed to have been, but I don't know if you'll have seen the video by the time this comes out or not, but sneak peek if you haven't watched it yet. I completely forgot to send the Scarab God to the graveyard on multiple occasions and never actually got to see if that last ability works or not. Get down Cavern of Souls. One thing we do need to worry about potentially is counter magic. Get down the Thorncaster Sliver here. And then we'll feed it back to our opponent. A little bit of a slow start for us. We can have some explosive starts in this deck, but also sometimes not. We need another land for Wooburg in order to get the Sliver Overlord in play, but we do have slivers to play at least. Maybe the Virulent Sliver and the Siphon Sliver. And then we can consider swinging in at the Lord of the Accursed and pinging it to death, because the Thorncaster Sliver gives our slivers, whenever this creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to any target. Good way to help get rid of planeswalkers and pesky creatures. Alright, going for a nice flavourful Grimoire of the Dead. 1 tap and discard a card to put a study counter on it, and then tap and remove 3 counters. And you sacrifice it, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. They are black zombies in addition to their other colours. And if the Grave Crawler and the Lord of the Accursed, the Zombie Lord, didn't give it away to you, then apparently this is some kind of zombie tribal build. Tends to be what people go for with the Scarab God. Yeah, let's try and get down as many slivers as we can, just to make the Thorncaster Sliver more potent. And then we'll get down the Virulent Sliver. This has like an old version of Infect. Whenever a Sliver deals combat damage to a player, that player gets a poison counter, and with 10 or more counters they lose the game. But we actually also deal the combat damage. So that works out quite nicely for us. Just going to ping our opponent because there's no point in pinging the 2/3. We'll be doing that next turn though. And then the Poisonous one triggers. So if we can deal damage with lots of slivers, and then we might be able to get some kind of poison win off on our opponent. It's pretty much just in there for a 1-mana sliver though. I don't really see a 1 versus 1 game going on long enough to make that poison damage relevant. If we get down the Bone Scythe Sliver, which is a go-to in this deck, then we might be able to kill a heavy life gain player with the poison counters, but I'm not heavily reliant on that. 3 cards in our opponent's hand, and I'm just hoping not to see a board wipe here. Grimoire of the Dead can fish out all of our slivers if we're not careful. Okay, Diagraph Colossus. That is something that I don't want sticking around. Diagraph Colossus enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each zombie in your graveyard, but in my opinion, the better ability is whenever you cast a zombie, you get a 2/2 zombie token. And here we go, an example of that. Unbreathing Horde, and we're starting to get a zombie horde into play already. Unbreathing Horde enters with a +1/+1 counter for each zombie in your graveyard as well. And if damage would be dealt to it, prevent that damage and remove a plus counter from it. I think we're just going to have to take a big hit. Oh, Patriarch's Bidding is nice. Actually, no, I've actually never drawn into this card and I've always wanted to use it. Each player chooses a creature type, and each player returns all creatures of the chosen type from the graveyard to the battlefield. I wonder what our opponent will choose with that one. Not often you come across tribal decks, and the one time we do is the one time that we draw into Patriarch's Bidding. Yeah, we'll go for Sliver Overlord here. And then we can try and get down some kind of evasion. Assuming that our opponent doesn't get rid of Sliver Overlord, in the meantime, they have 1 card in hand. And we're going to be able to block something thanks to Overlord being a 7/7. Yeah, definitely not going to swing in. We are instead going to pass the turn. And then I think we go for Gale Rider Sliver. And then we can give all these things flying. Yeah, what do we go for? Thankfully we've got a little bit of time thanks to the Siphon Sliver giving everything lifelink. We can get some extra damage off by pinging our opponent with Thorncaster Sliver. Yeah, I think the Gale Rider Sliver is the thing to go for. Or actually, if our opponent's looking at reanimating everything under their control, maybe giving all slivers flying is a good idea, so that then any slivers that we play also have flying, just in case they get our slivers into play. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean by that in a second when we tutor for our sliver of choice. Yeah, Diffusion Sliver is nice to go in for as well. That helps make targeted removal difficult for our opponent. Whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless they pay 2. And we can actually do both, so that's really good. Let's tutor first of all. Now we have 2 flying slivers. There's the Winged Sliver, which gives all slivers flying. And then there's Gale Rider Sliver, which is strictly better in a way. Just creatures that we control flying. And it costs 1 less as well. I'm going to go for Winged Sliver, just in case our opponent gets a lot of our slivers into play under their control, because that then means that if we need to play out more slivers, then ours will have flying as well. We're going to give him some card draw here, which, I mean, I strictly forbid it, but we're going aggro here, so I'm just going to risk giving them the card draw against my better judgment. Don't do this at home, kids. You don't want to give your opponent the draw off Rhystic Study usually. Alright, and I'm actually... How much damage do we have here? We've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so we're swinging again next turn and we've got lethal. So I'm going to ping the Lord here. That will get a lot less damage onto us on the swing back. Noteworthy that the pings here that the Thorncaster Sliver is doing does gain us life, because lifelink doesn't care about it being combat damage. It only cares about damage. And then the poison triggers go on. And again, we're just playing aggro, so I'm not really too worried about getting those poison counters on. Although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I mean, if we can swing in with everything next turn, then that will be poison damage on our opponent, but it'll also be combat damage. So you never know, they might choose to get rid of the Sliver Overlord. And then we would be reliant on the poison, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, we'd still be able to get it on our opponent, I think. Alright, another Lord coming down. I think we gained enough life with the Siphon Sliver to be able to take a big hit here. And I imagine they'll just tap out because we can't be blocked in the air by them unless they get Wander into the graveyard or something like that. Okay, Gravecrawler entered the exile zone for some reason. Not sure what happened there. Yeah, not sure what happened there that our opponent did, but anyway, we'll just take this big hit here. Actually really like this zombie tribal theme that our opponent's got going. Unfortunately, they've emptied their hand pretty quickly in doing it. So if someone were to exile their graveyard, that would be really bad for them. I don't normally do this, but because our opponent seems like a really good sport and they are a friend of the channel, I'm sure our opponent won't mind us just showboating a little bit. We'll pay for the Rhystic Study, and this will come down, give all of our slivers +3/+3, complete overkill. And yeah, just showing off a little bit too much here. Plus we're going to get all these triggers from Thorncaster, which is actually a bit of a pain. Yeah, and there we go. Our opponent's been a really good sport. Massive props to my opponent for playing this out and allowing us to hit them there. This is ABSL Absol. Yeah, we'll go with Absol. Thank you, friend. I'm very grateful to you for allowing us to swing in there and showboat a tiny bit. I think a few people wanted to see a Slivers deck on this channel, so good to show off a little bit of what you can do there. And again, good to see an opponent that allows you to play it out so that I can show my audience what's going on here. So huge props. Be sure in the comments to thank this individual. And Absol, get into the comments section and let us know who you are on YouTube. If you want to, that is. You might want to keep things on the private side. But thank you, and thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.